So,
Good,
hi, Aunjanue.
good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure to actually be talking with you. We've had a couple of hugs and highs, at these events.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, I've been, running you down, running you down and you know, trying to be in your orbit just for a few minutes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
lovely. Yeah.
Listen, I hate to cut to it because I feel like we don't have a lot of time and I just have a lot I want to know. I saw the film last night and I just felt like it just felt like a roar, Marianne. You know what I mean? It felt like a roar. And like and it felt like a roar that was specific to this one woman, but
Mm.
it also felt like a roar that I'm sure so many women could feel like they were a part of it.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
what do you think about that?
Well, I think it's that thing of the pain that
Mm,
people carry around with them and feel and don't necessarily have an outlet for. you
mm-hmm,
know. So there's a lot of fear for her, there's a lot of pain, but she's sort of like, oh, it's my back or it's my neck or it's my hip or whatever. She hasn't quite sort of like self-reflected enough to know that it's actually emotional pain and disappointment and regret that's causing her discomfort.
mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And I
mm-hmm,
mean, people recognize their aunts or cousins or friends or mother-in-laws very often come up to me and say, but she's just like my mother-in-law. And you go, oh dear,
mm,
dear.
mm, mm-hmm,
The film, like most films, films that that resonate with us are like a study on the human condition,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and how people present in the world.
mm-hmm,
I was very taken with the Nickel Boys by the style in which RaMell used. And I was thinking, well, I'm glad that wasn't me having to sort of like work with that camera. Because we're told, all of us, like, don't look down the barrel when you're acting and everything. But it's almost like the way that you encapsulated it was you turned the camera into another actor, another character in the film. And I just wanted to know what that process was like for you doing that.
Yeah, it was very strange, it was extremely strange. Yeah, I just worked with this little boy on this movie, and it was kind of like the running joke because he was like 6 or 7, and I think this was like his first job. And the director had to come up to him constantly and say, Brady, what are the rules? And Brady would say, don't look at the camera.
Yeah.
So it was like, the inverse of that, like this was what I was supposed to do. This was my task for my director is to look at the camera and not just look at it, but try to have an emotional experience,
Mm.
with the camera. And I don't like cameras. I actually hate them. I've never gotten accustomed to them, doing this job. I've always felt like it was intrusive and it always made me feel that whatever I'm doing is fraudulent. To have to befriend this machine
Mm.
was not something that I was, first of all, knew that I was going to have to do until I got there the first day of work. But, I had to lean into it, I
Yeah.
to it. But I just, I think about I read this, recently, a few weeks ago, and it's kind of made sense to me for a lot of reasons, with the election, with all kinds of stuff. But it was someone much smarter than me saying that there is kind of universally a lack of curiosity about the lives of Black women,
Oh yeah. Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah, for sure. For
So what was so compelling and just I felt, I don't know, gave me the feels just because I'm not thinking eloquently right now, but like about hard truths was that it was not just only a lack of an indulgence, it was an indulgence in the lives of Black women. Do you know what
totally.
I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like,
Totally.
like it was so, it was intimate, it was tender, and it was, different ages, different, all of that in that. And so what it made me wonder, and what I would, if you would, tell me, please,
Mm.
how did that happen? Did Mike Lee go, okay, here's what I've written? Or did you guys develop that? Like, how did that come about?
Well, basically, nothing is written in the stages, in the early stages of the process. And when
Mm-hmm.
I say the process is, you would have normally, not in this instance, you'd have a 6-month rehearsal process, and then you would film for like 2 months. That or 3 months. That's his normal process. We didn't have the money to do that this time. So we rehearsed for 3 months. Now, in
Mm,
that time, we have to create the characters and
mm,
then talk their lives into existence. You have to find their
mm,
physicality and everything. You do not utter a word for the first couple months. It's as the character.
mm-hmm,
Everything is done sitting down, working with him in isolation or with other actors. But
mm,
everybody is doing that process, developing the
mm,
character. Where did they go to school? How far was the school from their house? Did they walk? Did they take the bus? So you're building all these memories and stuff, right?
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
then when you start, you get Michelle Austin in, who plays Pansy's sister, we sit down together and we create, because Mike Lee doesn't know what a Jamaican household is. So
thank
we talk
you.
about it. But what he is
Mm-hmm,
brilliant at doing is
mm-hmm,
observing and trusting actors to make decisions that are not going to be ego-based, but totally for their character. I mean, if
mm-hmm.
you ever sat in a rehearsal space with him and said, I, when you were supposed to be referring to your character, he'd be like, no, third person, always speak about
Wow,
the character in the third person. So then
wow.
get us in there talking to him about, yeah, we'd be eating this food and that food. And the tradition is Chantel always brings the coleslaw. Pansy might bring a bag of salad and she always arrives late. And
Yeah,
all that stuff, just the characters become really rich,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like that's what I felt. Like it felt, yes, like a British immigrant experience, and specifically Jamaican, right?
Mm,
Right. But it
yeah,
felt like, it's people I knew
yes,
at the same time, you know?
yeah,
I just felt like I was spending time with folks
yeah.
for, a couple hours. So, okay, I'm gonna ask you one more thing.
Okay.
One more thing. So, this I felt like, yeah, I said like this felt like a
Mm.
roar on film that you did. But I also, and it was so much about like the volume of your rage as it moved and navigated through the world. But
Mm.
girl, what I was also equally compelled by, and more so, is your silences, man. Like how you dealt with them roses, with them flowers Moses gave to you. Like you were like those flowers, you treated them like they were snakes.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? I know
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. You did it.
Yeah. Yeah, she was afraid of flowers. She didn't like flowers and stuff. So it was just all about, that was such a huge step for her. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
In her journey to even be able to touch them through the plastic, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There is that rage. And going back to your thing, what you said about it being a view of Black women and almost a celebration in a sense. I remember somebody
Mm-hmm.
stopping me and saying, you know, this this angry Black woman. And I was like, she's angry because she's angry. What are you saying? She's not angry because she's Black. She's angry because of her life, her disappointments, her fears, her regrets. That's why. And that's what's kind of refreshing about it. Because the trauma is coming from inside, not outside. There are no outside forces. There's no gaze on this film. It's all about these people living
Mm-hmm.
and experiencing in that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Again, with the Nickel Boys, there is the scene where your character is thanking the boy to take the letter. That is so moving because you hope he's going to give the letter to the grandson, but there's a part of you that just is like, we're not, but it's the warmth that you have, the character has. And I think it's part of your authenticity. And I know that we're talking about the Nickel Boys, but I also, it's the same warmth and just love that you see in exhibiting forgiveness. Do you know what I mean? Which are two very different characters,
Mm-hmm.
but still coming from a really, you're very rooted in the characters that you play. Do you know what I mean? It's very, it's an, how do I describe it? It's that thing where an actor comes on screen and you just kind of go like this because you know you're going to get something. You know that you're going to get a glimpse into a life that you don't necessarily always get. And I'm just curious about what your process is. Obviously, one, we could start with saying what attracted you to the Nickel Boys, to telling that story and being part of that.
Well, I think probably, when at another time, because I know time is running short, but probably one of the same things that attracted you to Mike Leigh. Like
Mm,
I'm interested in that. What you have described is your clearly a collaborative process from top to bottom, right?
yeah.
That like I'm just so I dig it so much. But anyway, like that there is, even though RaMell has, I saw his documentary Hell County this evening. Did you see that one?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And so I saw that, and I just felt like whatever this guy is doing, I want to see it again. I want to see more of it. I
Mm,
had no designs on being in his films in the future, because I didn't know Nickel Boys was even in the ether at the time that I saw Hell County. But I just dug him. I just felt like he was doing something that set apart,
mm,
and disinterested in opinion.
right. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And so that's why when I saw the film, when I saw Hell County, I tracked him down. I called where he worked, you know what
Mhm.
I mean, just so I could tell him how I felt about it. That didn't work or whatever, but I still tried. um
Yes.
I tried. And yeah, like that's why I wanted to do that. And I feel like, I don't know, Marianne. I feel that I don't want to be presumptuous, but I do feel like in a way, perhaps we're kindred spirits in that way of
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? That we are attracted to directors, perhaps that think in that way. You
Yeah. Well, who are going to challenge you on some level and take you on a journey. Do you know what I mean? So we can
Yeah.
go and hone our skills I mean, that's what we hope for. But you've kind of had a record of working with, like you worked with Titus Kafur, you worked with Barry Jenkins after Moonlight, but still quite early. It seems almost like you're in pursuit of that type of work, of like, there's some interesting young cats over here. I'm going to explore that.
Yeah, I think, that's what I want to do. It's all I care about doing.
Yeah.
I I I want to do things that that I get lost in.
Mm.
And I have to work my way, through them. People see Nickel Boys and they say, well, what were you tapping into in order to do this? And I don't, I don't know how you are, and actually am interested in what that was like for you with Pansy, but there's not an awareness of that. I
Mm.
just knew that I was doing something that I've never done before, that felt weird and strange and absurd a little bit,
Mm.
and it made me excited to get up and go to work every morning, because I knew I was going to unknown territory,
Yeah.
you know? And that just felt just really exciting to me. But I felt like another thing I wanted to say about you is, so when you guys were at the dinner party, right? Where at the when you left the cemetery
Mm.
and you're having, the dinner,
Yeah.
and your nieces are, cooking and they're doing their thing, you know what I
Mm.
mean? And you're sitting there holding that purse. Can you talk to me about that day and
Yeah, I
filming
mean,
that?
it was it was a long day, but
Mm,
it's one of those things where it kind of all the work that we'd done up until that point, it was like this was going to be the harvest of it, because it was
mm,
that moment where you thought, what is she is she going to kill someone? Is she going to kill herself? What on
yeah,
earth is going on with her at this point? And only when the flowers come out, or the mention of flowers, is the thing that kind of breaks her,
yeah,
sends her into that place where it's like she can let it out. Because Pansy doesn't stop talking for the whole of the damn film. Up and so when she's quiet, you're kind of like,
mhm,
geez,
yeah, yeah.
power of that silence at that moment.
Yes, yes, that's what I was saying. It's like the silencers were, yeah.
As you know, as us actors, we were doing that scene. And every time they said break cut, we'd go in the next room and be laughing and telling jokes and stuff like that, just to ease the tension. And then we'd go
Okay.
straight back in, you know.
Well,
And
how were you able to like maintain focus if that was happening? Girl, I would be in a corner of a room. I'd be like, don't, I would be like, leave me alone. I can't concentrate. So you were able to do
you're
that? Or were
able
you,
to bang. Because again,
yeah.
working with him, and you've got to remember, I worked with Mike years ago. My first job was actually a theatre play with him. So
Oh.
in 93, so I was not long out of drama school. I worked with this guy and learn his process. And
Mm-hmm.
part of the process is when he says come out of character, you got to come out of character. He'll give you
Interesting.
a countdown, and you count down, you breathe, you do all your stuff, and you just let
Mm-hmm.
go. So I've
Mm.
been doing that for years of being able
Yeah.
to sort of like
Yeah.
snap back in. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, with Pansy, at times it's difficult because she had intrusive thoughts. So I'd hear a lot of her talking in my head. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but other than that, yeah, I needed those laughs though on the
Mm.
other side, just to
Mm.
know that I wasn't going crazy.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Do you think that if that if Moses got his life together, that if your husband, if Pansy's husband started being the good husband that he should be. And first of all, I love the fact that it ends on this kind of cliffhanger. Is she gonna go downstairs? What is she gonna do? I love that. But do you think, just as you, as not as an actor, but just you thinking about this person, Pansy, do you
Mm,
think if all of those things fell into place,
mm.
would the rage still be there?
I would like to think no, but
Mhm.
to be honest with you, I think the thing about Pansy, she would have to change.
Mm,
Stuff that needs to come out and be dealt with, she needs to do it. Nobody can help her. She's got to help herself. And I think at the point you leave her in the film, she's literally quite helpless. She sat there thinking, thinking, I can't help myself, much less him. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, yeah, I think, yeah, damn.
yeah, I wondered that. I wondered that. Well, Marian, I have to stop, and I know you have to stop.
Yeah, yeah.
But I want to put this in the world that we find each other
Yeah,
on a job one of these days. I would
I
love
hope
that so
so.
much.
Listen, that would be wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah, it really would. Because you just
yeah.
don't get to, you meet people at events and this and that, but it's very rare that you get to actually work with people, that you admire and want to work with. You get to work with the ones you don't want to work with. I said it.
Hey, and I agree with you. And I have to say this, it's like what also felt for me was just like, when I said it was an indulgence in Black womanhood, like I don't get to do enough of that. I just don't get to do enough of that. And what I am consistently saying, like constantly saying to writers and listen, I'm not trying to present like, I got projects coming at me left and right. That
Mm,
is not the case. But
no.
a lot of time when that does happen, I am
Mm,
constantly saying, I want to know what she thinks. Like
yes.
I am in it is perpetually stories that are about men, and that
Yes.
men in them are in service of the man, whatever that story that the
Mm,
man is telling.
yeah.
And I want to do stories that are about communities of women and women
Yeah.
community. That's
Mm,
what's exciting to me.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's
Just
what I
living,
loved about
getting
your
through
movie.
life, dealing with the things that we deal with.
Hmm.
Yeah. Let's do it. There's got to be a writer out there somewhere.
Listen, the writers are us.
Yeah.
That's where I'm arrived at. Like I can't wait on them.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.